Hello, I'm Juan Davis, Chief Creative Officer at KCT and PBS SoCal, and I'm joined by the newsroom of KPCC and LAist on a daily reporter roundup. How is everyone today?
Well, thanks.
David, let's start with you. You've been following the growing economic impact of COVID. Where are we today?
That's right. By now, about 1 in 4 California workers has applied for unemployment. The state estimates that unemployment rates are going to average out to about 18% this year. We have not seen rates that high since the Great Depression. And that's why the budget's calling for a 650% increase in funding for those unemployment benefits. But things aren't necessarily easy right now for those who still do have a job. LA's essential workers, they're out there taking risks when they're on the job, and they may actually be bringing that risk home to their family every day because they're more likely to live in overcrowded housing than non-essential workers. I talked with a McDonald's worker who lives in a 3-bedroom house with 10 other family members. And she says, they've developed a routine by now. When somebody is coming home from work, everybody else stays locked in their rooms until that person has had a chance to decontaminate and take a shower. LA's housing crisis is not new. We've known for a long time that rents here are really high. We've known that LA does have the most severely overcrowded housing of any large city in the country. But what's new here is that this overcrowding could be making it harder for us to slow the spread of infection.
Restaurant owners, even those that are open right now, are really struggling. And Natalie put together a segment for our show Air Talk where she heard from some of those restaurant owners.
Yeah, so this week, Governor Newsom issued guidelines for how restaurants might reopen. When and whether they do so is still up to local authorities, but those guidelines include protective gear for employees and spacing out customers. So we heard from a restaurant owner in Torrance who said that with the new reduced seating capacity, he thought his sit-down restaurant would not make it. Fast casual restaurants seem to be a little more nimble. But all the restaurants we heard from said right now, they're just trying to tread water. We talked to Sharky from Silver Lake, who owns a restaurant called Jewel, and she said she's pivoted towards takeout and selling pantry items. And like a lot of business owners, she's relying on a PPP loan. So she's hoping that restrictions will ease before that money runs out.
Our newsroom has also been following the way this virus is affecting different groups and demographics differently. But as Josie's reported this week, it's a question that can be really hard to answer.
Right. So at LAist, we've been doing a lot of reporting about which racial groups are disproportionately affected, but public health departments don't provide much beyond the labels of Black, white, Latino. In the case of Asians, this can be an issue because Asians are very diverse, not just linguistically, but culturally, also in terms of health status and socioeconomic background. So that got me to look into the Cambodian community in Long Beach. Long Beach has the largest concentration of Cambodians outside of Cambodia, and many of the community leaders and physicians there are concerned that Cambodians are faring worse than other Asians. They tend to be in service jobs, live in large households, and also have a high rate of chronic conditions. So they would like to see the COVID-19 cases, the data for it, disaggregated. And I spoke with the head of Health and Human Services in Long Beach, Kelly Colopy, and she recognizes that this detail was needed, and she hoped to start collecting ethnicity when the city started doing contact tracing. So I'll be following up to see what happens.
And finally today, Sharon has been looking into coronavirus and sewage because she's our infrastructure reporter.
Right, and it's not every day you get to go on TV and talk about poop, but when you flush your toilet, everything goes down a long pipe and it ends up at a wastewater treatment plant. And if you're infected with coronavirus, some of that virus is also going to show up in the sewage at the plant. Scientists think if they test raw sewage samples they collect at these treatment plants, it could help them determine when the amount of coronavirus in the population is finally declining from our current level. A scientist at USC just got funding to do that, so he'll be testing sewage at 6 wastewater treatment plants around LA County. And that'll be especially helpful later on. It could help give us an early warning of new outbreaks of coronavirus and COVID-19.
Well, thank all of you at the KPCC and LAist newsroom, and thank you for tuning in. Keep healthy, take care of your family, and we will see you on Monday.